Good morning, FedPhoenix fam. So I just had a random thought, random fact I wanted to throw out this morning. That was on my mind. So a lot of times when people talk about the injustice system and people convicted of crimes and inmates and that kind of thing, the people that immediately, reflexively are like, bad, and basically people should be punished for their whole lives for whatever, even if they have a non-violent victimless crime, because that's kind of the attitude. And all the stigma and that comes with being a convicted felon, and all the felon disenfranchisement that felons face. Often these same people that are like the biggest mouthpieces, that are anti-felon, for lack of a better term, are the same people that are pro-veteran, right? Pro-military, and these people tend to also be back the blue and all that kind of thing. But here's the thing, fun fact, and here's where a little factoid comes in that makes it really ironic at best. In the American population, right, people you see day to day in society, 7% of Americans are veterans, okay? 7%. In prisons, the prison population, 8% are veterans. And I know that sounds like a very marginal difference, but really when you think of the actual numbers, that's a lot. That's like what, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. So you are more likely to encounter a person who's a convicted felon and a veteran than you are a person that's simply a veteran. You are more likely as an inmate to have interactions with veterans than you are in the free world. And, I think a lot of this ties into the fact that, our country has completely dropped the ball in unexcusable ways on mental health. And a lot of times veterans have, service-related mental health issues. And there's a very direct correlation between untreated mental health and those who are convicted of crimes, or chronic mental health and those who are convicted of crimes in this country. And it's almost like mental health has been criminalized to a degree. There's a lady locally in the town over from where I live that people like to fuss about online. Actually a couple of them. Oh, she's so crazy. One, I think they say, is like meth-induced psychosis. It's just a permanent, she's out of her mind, even though she's not on drugs necessarily. And the other one is just, someone who perhaps has schizophrenia or something, but, she's a bit of a menace. And often people get frustrated with these women's antics. And the general consensus of the public on these posts when this is being addressed is put her in jail, put her in prison, lock her up. And as a country, that general attitude of, a person is mentally ill and doesn't have the mental capacity to be self-aware of that, and to find a way to kind of mesh and function in society, the solution being to incarcerate them, is really terrifying when you really, really think about it. And the rate that so many Americans have mental illness, whether it be anxiety, depression, PTSD, and the fact that our country doesn't really handle this in the way of a first world country, more like a third world country. And the fact that this often closely correlates to people becoming incarcerated. And then on the back end of that, as a society, we are groomed and programmed to stigmatize inmates, to stigmatize felons. The connection of these things is very alarming. And so I just wanted to bring a little awareness to that. I just wanted to say, if you're pro-military, pro-veteran, from a military family, if you're a person who's more empathetic to veterans, who sees people who have served the country, as more entitled to a pass, or more entitled to care because of their sacrifice or their family sacrifice, you should also be aware of the fact that these people are far more likely to become incarcerated. So if you're a person who is down with the stigmatization of convicted felons and felon disenfranchisement, and for harsh sentences and long sentences, which our correction system isn't about correcting, it isn't about reform, it isn't about, fixing what is broken with people, that puts them in these situations. It's about depravity and punishment. And even people who go into prison psychologically healthy often come out very psychologically damaged quite often for the rest of their lives. In fact, there's a type of PTSD that specifically refers to the incarcerated, post-incarceration syndrome. And it's just really alarming. It's really alarming, the correlation between, if you have served your country, that you will have mental illness that will be grossly undertreated and stigmatized. And in addition to that, kind of the snowball effect, there's a much greater chance that you will find yourself being incarcerated, becoming a felon, and the same people that, puff out their chest and scream, "Back the blue," and, our veterans, there should never be a hungry veteran in a first world country and whatever, are the same people that stand up and cheer when people get excessive prison sentences. They're the same people that when we hear about inmates being abused or neglected, which is pretty much the day-to-day in our corrections facilities, they go, well, play a stupid game, you win a stupid prize. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. You can't have it both ways. Either you give a shit about veterans, you give a shit about mental health care, which means by default you give a shit about inmates and felon disenfranchisement and the conditions of inmates, or you don't care about these things, which means you also don't give a crap about the average veteran. You don't give a crap about mental health care, because these things are so closely correlated that they're nearly two sides, of the same coin, or multiple sides of the same dice. So just something to ponder today, as we all live our lives. That you're more likely to see a veteran and interact with a veteran, be friends with a veteran, share a meal with a veteran in prison than you are in the free world. So you cannot logically say that you're pro-veterans, you're pro-service people, you're pro-military, or even that you're pro-mental health care or mental health awareness if you're anti-inmate, if you're anti-convict, if you're okay with exasperated sentences and, inhumane conditions for inmates, and the stigmatization that people face for the rest of their lives after prison as felons. So just a little thought for the day. I hope this finds you well, and good day. God bless.